Okay, namaste, my name is Ricky Warren. I'm the head coach and founder of Bodyweight Gurus. So it's my first video actually, but I want to go into a bit more detail about my knowledge on the calisthenics movement and bodyweight management. So there's a lot more to this than just jumping on a pull-up bar and trying something. There is actually a science and a lot of knowledge behind it that will help you further yourself and advance much quicker. Now I've been doing bodyweight exercise since I was about 7 years old. I started with judo and moved into a lot of different martial arts throughout my life. So we were always doing push-ups, pull-ups and that kind of stuff. And over time I think you develop a much better connection with your own body once you start using it. And through that I learned a lot more about how it works on a deeper level. So I've also got a degree in biology from University of London, and I've also got a PT qualification. So that helped me further my scientific understanding of what's going on, as well as my own empirical research using my own body and my own training methods. So the first thing I want to say is, when we're talking about humans as a being, we're talking about three things really. We're talking about mind, body, and spirit, or you could call that energy. Yeah? So this trinity, everyone's seen that before. So what I want to focus on today is this. Now, you know, we can talk about this, or this, or this, in relation to calisthenics training or bodyweight management in itself, completely. But today I just want to focus on the physical aspects of training bodyweight. We'll go into these other areas in some other videos maybe. I mean, if you like this video, you comment or you press the like button, then I'll be more inclined to do more. So when we talk about controlling and managing the body, we're talking about controlling movement, because that's what the body does. That's the physical expression of the body, is movement. So when we're talking about movement, really it comes under the header of biomechanics. And inside that we have physics, geometry, and mathematics. So I want to go into all of these in various amounts of detail. But we'll start with geometry, okay? Because this is the main one for me. Now, if we try to represent movement with shapes, which is actually the way the universe works, the whole of the universe is created with a blueprint of shapes. That's how everything works. So when we're talking about movement represented by geometry, this is an infinite and closed loop. It can go on forever. So you could also represent it with the infinity symbol. Now this, a straight line, it has a beginning and an end. It goes from A to B and stops. Now when I'm using this to represent the movement, when I'm thinking circles, I'm thinking about flow and dynamic movement. Because the purpose of flow, such as dance or freestyling and calisthenics, the purpose of flow is to keep going and to make everything run into each other nice and smoothly, and to just move without any obstacle and without any fumbling. It's nice and smooth, rolling flow. So let's call that flow. Now when we talk about straight lines, we're talking about getting from A to B in the most efficient and straight and cleanest line possible. Now when I think about straight lines, I think about statics and power moves. So if you're interested in flowing, flowy muscle up into a 360 and create all these circles where you're moving round and round. Okay? Infinite loop of flow. Or then you can talk about statics and power. So if you're doing front levers, boom, straight body, perfectly straight, pointed toes. If you're talking about power muscle ups, we're talking about straight up, straight down, straight body, pointed toes, no bending, no kipping. Because that is how we create this straight line to be as clean, as efficient, and as strong as possible. So there's two ways that we can train and move. Two kinds of shapes that we can sort of adhere to. And I think we should train both so that the body reaches its full potential through training a variety of movements. Now if we take these shapes, flow in itself, to be honest, because it's a circle, and it's complete already, you can make shapes such as this, figure of 8, etc. But that's really as far as it goes. A circle is a circle and that's it. Whereas when we look at straight lines, we can make more shapes because there is an end and a beginning that you can join up with another straight line, right? So this is a straight line shape. 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 Exactly. Okay. So all these types of shapes, you could have hexagons and octagons and dodecahedrons and all this kind of stuff, but really we're talking about a body that has 4 points or 5 maximum, really, when we're talking about balancing and using the limbs. So I guess a pentagon would be the sort of most complex shape we could make with our body. Now, let's focus on this triangle and square, and I'll show you how these actually can be represented by physical positions and what relevance they have. What I've drawn here is a bit of a crude representation of the Vitruvian Man by Leonardo da Vinci. You see it's also part of my logo here. Now, what this actually represents is the proportions of man, okay, or of a human. Now, I mean, you would have heard of stuff like the length of your foot is the same as the length between the elbow and the wrist. So there's certain things about the way that the body has been blueprinted in proportions, okay? So everything in the universe, as I said, is made from a blueprint and a geometrical basis, foundation of shapes. And the body is no different. As above, so below. So when we're talking about the proportions of the body, what this reveals to us is that the body can make certain shapes and achieve certain things within itself because of the shapes that we can make by moving our limbs around our torso and our core. Okay? So if you look at this diagram and you turn it to the side, for example, you will be able to see a man like this. On the side. That is a front lever from a cross section. You can also reverse that, so you can look at him with his face here like this, right? So this is front lever. You can also look at it the other way around. With different arms. You can say, so this is a planche, okay? You can see this shape in here. You could say that's iron cross on the rings. Okay? So look, basically what I'm saying is the fundamentals of the shapes of the human body can achieve are within this drawing here, the Vitruvian Man. And the reason that's significant for me is because that gives me a much deeper understanding of the geometry of what we're capable of. Now, looking at my phone for notes because there's a lot I want to say, but so we can create certain shapes with our bodies. Now, the difference is that we are not inanimate, hard objects. We are actually in control of our bodies, and we can have more control of our bodies through training. So, now muscles, okay, which is an underlying structure to what's on the surface, and it obviously works with the skeletal structure. It allows tension to be controlled. That's very, very important, because what that means really is, that means that the internal forces that we can generate inside our body using our muscles can be used to oppose external forces on the body, such as gravity. Okay? So, balance, pressure, and tension can be used to help the body gain more control of itself in its surroundings and with the external forces acting on it. So it will be less susceptible even to the impact of external forces. So I'll give you an example of that. If you're able to control the tension in your core and root yourself to the ground, you're more solid. So any external force that tries to move you is going to have a much more tougher time if you control your internal forces to the extent where you're solid. Okay? So now we go on to how that's relevant, because look, knowledge of which muscles can oppose the external forces is how we understand what to train and in what range of motion and which plane of motion in order to achieve a fixed position or a position of strength. Okay? So, let me show you these. So knowledge of the muscles that need to be used to generate the internal forces required to oppose the external forces we want to challenge, such as gravity, it's really the key to unleashing the full potential of the body. So now I'll talk about basics. So if you're balancing on the floor, okay, there are certain points of your body in contact with the floor and other parts which are not. It could be your head, it could be your shoulder, it could be your hand, or whatever. But the first thing I want to do is show you two shapes. Square. Triangle. Okay? Now, they have different angles. This is 60. And this is 90. Now, if you understand a little bit about physics and geometry, you'll understand that this is an acute angle, and this is 90 degrees angle, this is a right angle. This 90 degree angle has a lot more structure and support to it than a 60 degree angle. So how does that mean? And what does that mean basically? So let me explain it this way. Okay, so we've got the square and the triangle. Now I'm actually going to turn the camera around to show you some examples of this. So I want to show you this. Now this is a planche with my body making a rectangle. Okay? So I have 4 points of contact with the floor, and I can make a rectangle here. Now this is a solid position to be in, because my weight is evenly balanced on all 4 limbs and it's solid. Okay? If I move my feet together, I change the shape to a triangle. Okay? Because really these 2 feet are acting as 1 point of base, because they're together. What that means is that where there is equal pressure between these 2 feet and these 2 hands, when I move the feet together, the pressure moves towards 1 point. So you're carrying the same weight of 2 hands on 2 feet that are together. And the impact that this makes is that it channels the pressure of the tension down the body a different way. So if we look at the abs, for example, in a square, you would be able to balance the strength and tension throughout the entire surface area of the abs, like this, and run through to your legs and up here. When you bring those legs together, you force the tension in a triangle towards the single base where the feet are. So you actually create much more tension in the middle of the core and the abs than you do in a rectangle. We were talking about 90-degree angle of a square, 60-degree angle of a triangle, etc. So I was talking about the bases on the floor. We can also look at the body as a cross-section and use these angles as well. So the example I'm going to use is planche, okay, because it's quite a well-known move and it's one that's worthy of explaining properly. So let me draw a quick person doing it. Planche. This is the shoulder. Okay, so that on the floor, that is a planche, okay, full planche. Now you'll notice here, let's talk about the angle again. So the angle here is about 45 degrees. Okay. The hips are roughly in line with the wrists. Now what you've got here is weight and weight, and they're acting as a seesaw on this point here. So the wrists are the first point of leverage, and then this weight is acting as a seesaw on this line here, which is how you're keeping yourself up and levitating. Now the thing is, you can get an inanimate wooden object that looks like this, and it will stand by itself because of the physics of how that is set up, weight distribution and leverage. But in a human body, because we can turn tension on and off and change the internal forces inside us, we need to apply tension to create this position. So where we actually want to create most of the tension is here, in the anterior delt at the front of the shoulder. Because this is what is stopping you from falling on your face, is helping you maintain this leaning in order to get the head past the wrists, so that the wrists can line up with the waist and allow balance of the weight on either side. Yeah? And you'll see that the feet all the way over here pose a great stress on the body pulling downwards. So the head must counter for that with its weight. Now, if I wanted to straddle my legs in a straddle planche, and straddle planche means your legs go wide like this, okay? So I'll try to represent that here. If it was kind of like this, and then you have another one there, right? What happens is as you bring your legs in like this, as you straddle your legs out, you bring the weight of the feet towards the center, which is the leverage and balance point of the planche, okay? When you do that, the weight required here to balance the weight of the feet is less, because the feet are coming towards the center. Therefore, the head can also come towards the center, because we need equal weight on both sides to balance that. So what you'll find is when you do a straddle planche, with legs apart, you can really lean at this kind of angle because you've drawn the weight of the feet inwards. When you go to move into a full planche, the weight of the feet is all the way that side. Therefore, the head needs to be further this side. So the lean that you need needs to be much more dramatic. The angle of this lean needs to be much more dramatic than this in order to counterbalance the feet. Okay? So there, I mean, I know it's complex, but that is an exact example of how geometry, shapes, mathematics, and physics come together to explain how calisthenics and bodyweight management is performed. Okay, so this knowledge is really important in terms of you actually understanding what is happening inside your body when you try to perform this kind of stuff. So, it was a bit brief, and I've gone through a couple of things there, just to give you an idea of the kind of levels of understanding that are required to teach bodyweight management and calisthenics movements. So this is not a case of, oh, you know what, I learned how to do muscle ups in a park, therefore I can teach it. No. You know how to do that the way that you learned it. Now, that doesn't mean that you can be a teacher. Being a teacher means that you have reached a goal and achieved it yourself, or perhaps through another teacher, and you are now able to pass that knowledge on and show somebody else how to achieve it using the methods that you did, as well as discovering other methods that can help those people who learn differently to you. So some people learn audibly, some people learn kinesthetically, some people learn visually, right? Do we all know this? So we also understand that some people have different genetics, some people have different rhythm and balance. So when you give someone an exercise to try, it might not suit them, it might not be the best way for them to learn the exercise and to build up. So you have to have a wider range of understanding and arsenal behind you about how to strengthen the muscles you're targeting to help that person achieve a particular movement or motion. So you really need to be studying what is going on in the body. You need to understand how biomechanics works and how it's applied to the movements that we're teaching. And then, aside from the physical aspects of the body, there are also the mental aspects of training and the spiritual and energetic aspects of training. Creating stability inside here, and peace, and calm, and focus, and discipline. And being able to train the mind to focus acutely and to discipline the mind to persevere and achieve what it wants to achieve. Right? So there's a lot of aspects to this, and I mean I would like to do more of these kinds of videos because I like to share what I know and pass it on, because it's made such a big difference to my life that I want to pass it to as many people as possible so that they can feel what I felt from achieving this. So if you did like this, please press the like button, share it, subscribe to me, whatever. Tell me what kind of videos you want to hear about, or what kind of stuff you want more information on. I think it's about time that the people that have knowledge about this stuff start showing people that there is a science to this, and it can be learned by everyone, and everybody is capable of it, because the human body is capable of it through training and dedication and discipline. Therefore, anybody is capable of it. It doesn't mean that everybody will want to do it, because I can be inspired by watching someone do pole dancing or playing a sport or ballet. It doesn't mean I want to do it. It inspires me, it doesn't mean I want to do it. So, but at the same time, anything that you're using your body for, whether it's calisthenics or dancing or martial arts or yoga, the same principle applies behind all these things. The body is made of shapes and geometry, and it works in a certain way, and once you understand that and look at it in more detail, you'll be well on your way to mastering it. So peace out. I'm Ricky, bodyweightgurus.com. Namaste.